Darkness. A solitary second of stillness, punctuated by moments, memories of greatness, of clashing shields and war-torn battlefields. And then, a shining moment in the void. First one, then another and another until the entire sky lights. There are a million lights, a million faces, a million stars piercing the dark, a million of you wherever you are, sharing the passion and joy of every single second. We have never been more apart, yet we are together. A myriad of stars in the dark, all as one. We are here. And we are EU.
That is one damn tanky crocodile. He's going for the triple. He's going for the quadra. Come on.
And across spring, we have shared in battles and glory, in the elation of victory and the pain of defeat. From outplays to misplays, we have seen giants fall low.
Excel on the Nexus Towers will defeat G2.
And new names shine brighter than ever before.
Zanzar is here. The taxes. The IRS has been evaded. Elyoya, he will survive another day.
One by one, we watched their lights extinguish until we were left with our final six. And through trials and torment, through ecstasy and exaltation, we reached our destination. 2 teams, a million lights, all waiting for today. And it all comes down to this. In the fight for glory, there is no relenting, there is no stepping back, there is no second chance. So just one question remains. Who's going to claim the crown?
It has been 6 years, 7 months, and 25 days since a team other than G2 and Fnatic have raised the LEC trophy. In fact, we have never had a final without those 2 teams. But today we get to witness something brand new. Today we get to witness something marvelous, something magnificent. Today we get to witness history. So without much further ado, let's get to introducing your teams. In the top lane for the Mad Lions is the Turkish stage beast himself, Armut.
Mickey goes all the way forward thanks to the Q. Manages to chuck out the ulti for now. Mickey's going low. Manages to catch the Drake.
Oh, it's a huge Gnar!
Armut. He may have just done it. He set up 1, 2, 3 quick kills for the Mad Lions.
For Rogue in the top lane, 7 years in the making, now in his first ever final, Odoamne! Now on the back line, Neon diving in with the killer instinct, and immediately it's jumped on and Neon is down. Trymbi with a Magnus Storm, and here is Odo! Feel the power of the slicing maelstrom! For Mad Lions in the jungle, it's the Spanish prodigy and rookie of the season, Elyoya!
Odo drops down the Darkened Blade as Armut dashes forward once again. Cyclone is a few seconds away! Here comes Elyoya bringing the thunder to Rogue. 2 more kills to the Mad Lions.
A Polish powerhouse and pathing king in the jungle for Rogue, inspired!
Vitality have been able to peel for now, but Rogue are not yet done. Inspired, the flag and drag and the cataclysm. He extended it with the flash, and there's nothing Vitality can do.
Controlling the rift from the mid lane for the Mad Lions, it's Humanoid!
Push forward.
Kaiser's looking for it.
Flare. That'll slow and low.
Shockwave!
The shockwave is huge! Humanoid may have just done it!
In the mid lane for Rogue, the ginger god himself, it's Larssen!
Larssen now TPing into the middle of two members of G2. Still, G2 are going to back. They don't want to overcommit this one. Oh, God, that is zero damage. He just one-shots immediately.
In the bot lane for the Mad Lions, he's Carzzy by name, but crazy in lane, it's Carzzy!
Miscue's locked, left alone without the rest of the team. Astralis running the killer instinct from Carzzy! The double kill for the Kaiser.
In the bot lane for Rogue, it's been 3 years since his last finals, but he's finally back to fight for the title, Hunsummer!
And the swipe! Hunsummer will pick up the kill onto Elyoya after losing Trymbi, and here comes Larssen. He picks up the second. That's Hunsummer with the double. Kaiser's the next one to fall. A triple kill for Vedius.
For Mad Lions in the support role, in the year of support dip, there's one name that reigns above them all. It's Kaiser!
3,800 HP, and Mad Lions start to back away. The unstoppable onslaught is not just yet used. It's not available. It's on cooldown from Inspice.
Oh, Kaiser!
Fantastic engage from Kaiser. Gets a 3-man knockup.
And from the Ultra Liga to top of the league in less than a year, for Rogue, their support, Trymbi!
There's a TP in from Odo, gets a lot of damage. Rell comes out.
Oh,
Trymbi! Trymbi with the Magnet Storm engage. He sets it up.
And now we stand on a precipice. Mad Lions on one side, Rogue on the other, and all of the rest of us just here for the ride. Europe, Twitch chat, give your hands together for your finalists! And there's one last thing to do before we dive on into the finals. A great series demands great casters, and I've got 3 of the best for you. Guys, take it away.
Oh, thank you very much, Medic. From one great caster to another, it is an absolute pleasure to be here for this series between Mad Lions and Rogue. You've heard it a few times today. You might hear it a few more, but a new champion is going to be crowned today, although I promise we'll keep the crown metaphors to a minimum on this one. Yeah, that's the camera. Yeah, Larssen.
Thank you, Larssen.
Thank you, Larssen.
Showing up a little bit early.
Studio. There's the Junior God.
The man himself.
The man himself. We're going to be talking about him a lot today alongside the other players. And the reality is there's a ton of pressure. There's a ton of stakes. It is a huge and momentous occasion. But I think right now we're all just very excited to be in the studio with players for an LEC final after what feels like an eternity without them.
Especially with Mad versus Rogue, 2 of these teams that have been forever battling to get up to the top, and now they've surpassed the other teams, the G2s, the Fnatics that were above them. Now it is winner take all. We have a new champion today.
Yeah, and I feel like Rogue was always at one step ahead, right? Finishing first in summer, and then even now coming tie to tie with G2, coming into the playoffs, and then Mad Lions got the best of them. We're in the finals, 10 players. One team's going to raise the trophy, and it's going to be the first time for that team and for those players.
It's absolutely crazy that this is the route that we've taken. And of course, you talk about Rogue kind of being one step ahead in the regular season, but it's Mad Lions who rose up and oppressed us so much. Remember, they beat Rogue last time they went head-to-head, so it's going to be a story of adaptation this time around. I think Game 1 might be the last time we see anything similar to their previous series, because today I'm expecting innovation, I'm expecting crazy new picks and new strategies. And we have to remember for the Mad Lions, while this is a very neck-and-neck matchup, they got the luxury of watching Rogue all day yesterday to learn every strategy that they could bring to the table.
Yeah, and for Rogue have to spend 1 week prepping for 2 teams. Obviously have to send so much going up against G2 yesterday, now up against the Mad Lions. I'm curious what they're going to have in store for us, because we look at the last time these 2 teams faced off earlier in the playoffs, and it was the Senna Cho'Gath in the bot lane for Rogue. Mad Lions had the Jinx as the counter. Back then, that was a surprise pick. That felt like it came out of nowhere. Now it is known, and that's going to have a lot of effect on this series.
Yeah, and that's what I think Mad Lions are all about, and Rogue we're kind of following in a sense. You know, Mad Lions always playing these scaling picks, and Rogue just playing a lot of early game. You know, they dominate the early game, and that's how they snowball the game. We'll have to see how these 2 teams fight off against each other, because I like the early game coming out from Rogue, but then you've got Elyoya on the other side who loves his early game champs as well.
Well, and additionally, Elyoya, the guy who's willing to give up maybe some of those CS leads that Inspired has been so known to build just to gank his lanes to get his lanes ahead. And what's impressive about it is he's just so successful. He's not the first guy that's tried ganking lanes instead of farming the jungle. He just seems to make it work every single time.
And that's exactly the kind of approach it feels like you need against Rogue in a sense, because I like to say there's 3 things that Rogue always look for in a draft, always look for in a game plan. It's usually going to be some form of scaling element, likely for Larssen. You know, the Azir, the Corki of old has some other champions in his wheelhouse too, of course, but then then also you want to have strong early priority lanes. Even with the scaling picks, they often are winning out their lanes, and then a fast clearing jungler for Inspired where he can go on the offensive.
And the most important thing to me there is the priority lanes, right? That's what gets your jungler ahead. That's the kind of playstyle Rogue have, and that's similar to what you saw against G2. They had the prior lanes in the best of ones throughout the whole regular split, but G2 found the ganks, and when you have those prior lanes, once they lose them, it's really difficult to play the game.
Yeah, and Elyoya showed in the last series, creative early pathing, dodging away from vision that, of course, Inspired was putting down in the jungle, and it was that sort of surprise factor against sometimes the more predictable nature of Inspired's pathing that helped Mad Lions get out to a good lead.
Yeah, and vision's the key thing, right? We even saw it in the G2 series yesterday. Inspired spots Jankos 1 second on the map. He already knows he's clear for the next 2 minutes, takes away his camps, gets level leads, controls the whole map, and that's something you can't give Inspired. You can't give him free information because he's one of the best junglers in the league when it comes to getting that advantage.
Yeah, and if he's tracking your enemy jungler, it means the rogue lanes can always know when to press their advantages. Because you know they love to push in the early lane phase, but we also know they play some of the strongest weak side game in the league with Odoamne on the top side, soaking up so much pressure, often making sure that teams aren't able to find him on the early gank. So any information that Inspired gets, he will be able to control the early game and know exactly what's going on.
And I think it's no surprise that we are looking at the early game, right? Because it is crazy to think back to that series and realize that Mad Lions were down on average 1.6k at 15 minutes, and that they were the ones winning the games, that it was a 3-1 series despite those early game struggles. A credit, of course, and you heard it on the desk, to how incredible Mad Lions are at team fighting, but with Rogue leveling up, with Rogue taking down G2, can they continue to have these early games where they're falling behind in gold, where they're letting these leads fall away, and you're seeing massive CS leads across all the Rogue lanes?
Yeah, and I mean, for the side of Mad Lions, you have to look at, too, coming in from the upper bracket. Of course, they also made huge improvements in the offseason. Both teams making changes in the top lane, making changes in the jungle for the Mad Lions. Big effects coming in here and coming into these two organizations' first ever finals.
And now it is time, picks and bans for the first game, Rogue versus Mad Lions. And gentlemen, as we get into picks and bans, no doubt that we are all pumped as hell to be here. But we take it down a notch. We look at the strategies that are going to be coming out from both sides, and we can look at the expectations ahead, because while the player stories are fantastic, at the end of the day, you have to find the win here, and it's going to come down a lot to innovation in the draft. Already, Nocturne, first ban from Mad Lions.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we know that Armut, big fan of the Gnar, and Odoamne took that Nocturne into the top lane. It's a sweet counter matchup for it yesterday. So I like to see that ban come from Mad Lions. The other champions I want to look at, Jinx for Carzzy in the bottom lane, potentially for Hansama, as well as the Senna combinations we know Rogue love to run.
And the other thing I'm looking at is mid lane, right? We saw a lot of Tristana, Lucian, Orianna priority, right? And I think Humanoid has the most Orianna games. He has the most success on Orianna. I'd be surprised to see Rogue give that away to them, as you see a Thresh ban. And at the start of playoffs, we saw a lot of bot lane bans. Senna, the Thresh, the Tam, all these kind of things being taken away alongside things like the Jinx and the Kaiser and the Rell. We'll have to see how this draft progresses, because all the mid laners are open right now, and those are the priorities alongside the junglers, right? Like the Lilias, the Hecarims, the Udyrs, and the Bolivars.
And it would not surprise me to see a lot of these power junglers get left open. As I say that, Elyoya and the Mad Lions decide to ban away the Lilia. So now with Tristana banned, we have Orianna, we have Lucian, a couple of mid lane power picks up.
Yeah, you've got Orianna and Lucian, you've got Hecarim as well, and you've got Udyr. So the jungle trade-off, and there's a mid lane trade-off here no matter what. But I think if Mad Lions take the Orianna, Rogue will take away the Hecarim to make sure they don't have that kind of wombo. And if they pick up the Udyr, maybe Rogue want to take away the Lucian.
Yeah, and I mean, this makes sense for Elyoya. Of course, we know he likes to get into lanes a little bit more aggressively than Inspired. We know Udyr super fast jungle clear as well, so a very strong power pick to put the rookie of the split on in the jungle here from Mad.
Rogue taking their time on this response, not sure exactly what they want to go to here. Now, of course, you talk about the Orianna, you talk about the Lucian. Last time in this series, a lot of people questioning Larssen's focus on something like the Azir. This time, though, it will be the Orianna. Has updated his champion pool a little bit to suit the playoffs, and we've seen Orianna be incredibly oppressive. Still has a fantastic win rate so far in the playoffs overall, and Larssen, if he can make an impact on this champion, especially alongside a Rell, that is some team fight combo action.
Yeah, I really like what Rogue have done here. They basically said, we're going to pick our jungler on 3 no matter what, so why not get another power pick with the Orianna? So the Rell, really good engage support. We see it a lot with things like the Nocturne yesterday. So just secures you that engage and secures you that follow-up, because having a ball on your engager is all good and dandy, but you need some more follow-up and that more reliable engages and more targets to put the ball on. So Have to see how Mad Lions respond. I wouldn't be surprised to see them match support and match mid lane here, because if anything other than just the Gnar blind pick is kind of risky.
Yeah, I mean, with the Viktor answer here for Humanoid, of course, gives you strong wave clear to sort of neutralize this mid lane, especially later on into the match. And of course, tons of team fight damage. Armut will return to the Gnar that was so successful for him up against G2.
Makes a lot of sense. You can see the draft ban already. Ban away the Nocturne, ban away the Lilia to prevent the Lucian Lilia coming out from Rogue. They won't run back the Nidalee because they need the Renekton. So ban away the Nocturne, blind pick the Gnar. They've matched the mid lane as well. So we'll have to see how Rogue respond. We expect them to pick up their jungler here, but they could also match tops. They're playing things like the Jace, perhaps the Kennen that we've seen out of Odoamne, but no, gonna go for the Hecarim. I think that's the smartest decision. Letting jungle go 4-5 here is kind of risky.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like it's a little bit easier to pinch the jungle pool with just 2 bans in the second rotation, as opposed to top lane, where we know that Odoamne always has those comfort picks to fall back on, the likes of the Kennen and whatnot there. So we already know Rogue, very strong team fight composition. Mad Lions also trying to fight back against it. And now for Rogue, it's about securing strong pushing bot lane. So I'd actually look at bans like potentially an Ashe here for the Mad Lions.
Yeah, definitely.
We've seen exactly how important bot lane priority has been for Rogue when they get those advantages in the bot lane. So easy for them to dictate the base of the game, something that you guys brought up earlier. So easy for them to force the Herald swaps or not. Really, they get to be the ones to decide all of the early game action. Now, credit to Elyoya, he was the one to break that, to interrupt that cycle previously, but it doesn't make it any easier if the bot lane here is guaranteed to find early pressure.
And that's something Rogue always likes to do. Things like Kalista, Rell, pushing lanes, Ashe, like Ender said, Ashe already taken away. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Kalista taken away to prevent Rogue having that strong bot lane, that strong priority like that we saw them use against teams like Schalke to make sure that they had the first move into mid. So they always had numbers advantages. And Mad Lions picking up this Gnar, do they want to ban away top laners? And do Rogue want to ban away more supports or bot laners to get that strong push in bot side?
And we have to remember, something that maybe has slipped past our gaze here is the Senna. This has been a champion that's been massively high priority, probably the reason that we are now seeing a Tahm Kench banned away. Remember that it was Mad Lions who took the Jinx Thresh lane to shut down the Senna Cho'Gath that Rogue brought to the table. The question is, do Mad Lions want to ban this away? Could they give away a Senna Rell lane? Is that even something that you want to prioritize? Because that has been an insanely high priority, insanely successful pick across the playoffs, but it's not showing up yet.
Yeah, I would say that with Rell locked in, I would be very surprised to see Rogue go the direction of the Senna. Of course, the Tahm Kench ban by Rogue almost hints at that themselves. Now, Rogue do have some options if they were looking for a pick in a similar vein to the Ashe. The Varus can, of course, give you some strong presence on the bot side of the map.
Yeah, see, they're hovering Draven here, but I think it's going to be a Kalista pickup. The Kalista Rell is so powerful. True. Yeah, going for the Kalista, and then you have to question what ADs are open. You have got the Aphelios open, the Jhin is also open, the Xayah is open. We've got a lot of ADs open here, so we'll have to see how Rogue want to trade it off to get the powerful pick on the AD. You could also just pick top lane here and just counter top lane, but then counter AD. But it looks like they can pick up the Varus, so they think that's the strongest champ for their comp right now with all this engage, all this AoE damage, rather than going for something like the winning lane in Kalista.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Rogue have all the tools they could ever want to say, we are fighting right now. So it's very much a game where Rogue, if they're up to date with vision, if they're tracking Mad Lions well through the game, they can find numbers advantaged fights. And of course, try to catch out some of the players of the Mad Lions, maybe a little bit more conditional with things like the Gnar. They need more setup when it comes to when they're actually going to be looking for a fight.
Yeah, the Alistar picked up surprised me a little bit. Something I completely forgot about, actually. The answer into Rell. I'm surprised Rogue didn't want to take that away. Instead, they took away the Senna time, like Drakos pointed out, and the Ezreal. We'll have to see what AD they pick up here, because the only ones really open, like we saw earlier on, are things like the Jhin, perhaps.
And of course, it's credit to the flexibility of the Mad bot lane that priority bans like Ezreal and Tahm Kench are what get taken away. The Jhin now being locked in, we saw in the hands of Rekkles yesterday, felt a bit underwhelming in the overall pool of AD carries. Maybe Carzzy can have a better performance today, but the Varus, we know, can be that oppressive lane bully, can set Rogue up to have some pushing bot lane on their side. The debate here, though, for Rogue, trying to set up Odoamne for success, trying to give him that counter pick for top lane. Karma, not the spiciest answer, but has proven to be a consistent one. Instead, however, we get the GP.
I really like this. So coming in, it was maybe a little bit unexpected. The Karma, he's been playing a bunch of the Renekton as an answer into the Gnar matchup, of course, can work. But now Rogue, with this GP coming in, have a lot of great options, I think, in the early laning phase. GP not going to be too unhappy here versus the Gnar if he takes some nice trades, but also that ultimate versus a Viktor versus a Jhin, very challenging to deal with when behind you you're getting slowed by the cannon barrage and in front of you a horse is sprinting straight at you.
Yeah, definitely. We saw this matchup yesterday, I believe, in the TSM versus TL series, Huni versus Alphari, GP into Gnar, and although they were losing that game, Team Liquid, and the GP was not falling behind when it came to team fights, the GP was so oppressive, especially now that Mad Lions have picked up 2 immobile carries. Yes, I have the phase rush, and Jhin will have a lot of mobility, but the GP ult on top of the Orianna ult and the Hecarim ult, the Rell, the Varus, there's so many spells flying at Mad Lions here. They need to make sure they can find the right engage to dodge them away and get their carries into the fight.
And gentlemen, we do need to remake picks and bans, so we will have a few minutes. We're just a bit delayed heading into game 1 as you see the coaches give each other a nice COVID-safe bow as they leave the stage. We are moments away, of course, from the first game in the series, and it's a thriller. But when I look at the picks and bans, what I see for Rogue is they've secured some early priority in some of their lanes. They've secured a ton of teamfight power. And on the opposite side for MAD Lions, now I like Viktor in the meta. I like Gnar in the meta, but that is not nearly as reliable as GP ult, into Hecarim ult, into Orianna ult. It feels like Rogue have a clear path to teamfight victory.
Yeah, they have a lot of reliability, like you said, Drakos. And the interesting thing for me here, like you touched on the mid lane matchup, Orianna into Viktor is something that's being picked a lot in Europe especially, but most of the time I see this matchup, Orianna, if she gets ahead by a sliver, she's always dominating the lane phase. So talking about priority, talking about the push, I think Rogue have definitely secured that in the mid bot side.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to be a challenge, of course, in any game that you go and face up Rogue. Looking at early lane pressure, looking at early jungle pressure, I do feel like Elyoya got what he wanted, right? With a first pick, Udyr, super strong champion in the meta. If we're looking to set up any player on MAD Lions for success right off the bat, Elyoya must feel at home.
Absolutely has to, and I think, of course, there is also a certain amount of pressure because we have seen that if Elyoya wants to gank, it does mean Inspired will be getting ahead, and a Hecarim getting ahead is always going to be a bit of a concern for the opposite side. That does make it feel a little bit like MAD Lions are on a clock up against a composition like this, despite also picking some solid scaling options themselves.
Yeah, they have some scaling where you're definitely right by saying they're on somewhat of a clock. I mean, if you look at the series yesterday of Rogue versus G2, the first game, Inspired was on the Udyr. He got himself ahead. I think it was 2-3-0. A lot ahead of Jankos in the clear especially. But the champ itself is very oppressive in the early game, but when it comes to the mid to late game, it's almost like a walking health bar with a little point and click stun for somewhat of an engage. So it's definitely more oppressive in the early game, whereas Hecarim, although he does have a pretty strong early game, in team fights he's always going to be that beefy front line who's engaging on your back line, has multiple AoE CCs and can find your carries regardless of his positioning.
Yeah, I think you'd also look typically at a champion like a Viktor perhaps, you know, with the gravity field, with the burst damage the AoE can have. It's good when you're playing back and you're inviting people to run into you. The problem is there's a lot of champions that are trying to run at you. There's so many tools that Rogue have that Humanoid is going to have to be on peak game.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at these two comps, gentlemen, I would say Rogue's AoE team fighting is definitely favored. We touched on it a lot. Carzzy and Humanoid need to be careful. They need to be careful where they position, but they definitely have a lot of re-engage with the Alistar, with the Viktor ult. If Larssen or Hans gets caught by that at all, then they're definitely going to get shut down. So I'm looking at the carries in these fights, and I'm looking at who wins this topside matchup. You know, GP into Gnar, who can get the push to move into mid first to impact this controlled mage lane.
And I think the big thing is if GP gets ahead, we've known he can be this massive team fight threat, but even if he starts to fall behind, the GP ult is so crucial for shutting down the immobile carries on the side of MAD Lions. Good news is Jhin can buy a Gale Force now, yay this season, but still not really enough to nullify the strengths of that ultimate. And for Armut, he has been very good on Gnar. It has been one of his most successful picks, if not his most successful pick. He has been able to find the angles in the team fight, but that is not 100% reliable. It is the most telegraphed hard engage in the entire game. A lot of pressure on him in these team fights to come in clutch because 3 seconds of hard CC at level 16 can be the difference maker against a team composition as strong as Rogue's.
Yeah, big question for me here is, will Inspired play around the top side at all in the early game? Because yesterday he actually did spend quite some time around Odoamne, but we know usually the history of Rogue tells us Odoamne, weak side king. Elyoya, very active in the early game, so playing around a Gnar, if this lane does get volatile, does have some room for ganks.
Absolutely does, and of course we are just moments away now from the first game in the final series, LEC Spring 2021. MAD Lions versus Rogue, rising stars of the LEC, but who will take the trophy today? That's the question on my mind as I set up.
It's a good question.
It's a hard question, but let's find it out as we get ready for game one. And as joyous and as exciting as the music is that brings us into game, it's important to remember the pressure that is on all 10 players on this stage. There will be a new champion in the LEC. It is a new era for European League of Legends. There is no G2, there is no Fnatic. You will not see those logos today. Today there is only Rogue and MAD Lions. But in the end, there can only be one. High pressure on both sides. Big opportunity for both of these lineups.
And while there is one large trophy on the line, there is another thing to fight for here today between these two players. And I think it's the title for who is the best jungler in Europe. For so long in EU, in the LEC, it has been Jankos, and players have gotten close. Self-made last year, Inspired through much of the split. But after both these junglers outdid Jankos in the playoffs, and with their strength so far, I do believe that this series will be able to answer that question.
Yeah, definitely. Inspired was one of those players coming into Spring Split that loads of people said, Rogue a dominating scrims. Inspired looks like the best jungler, but Elyoya coming out of nowhere. His growth has been so impressive with the early games that he got from MAD Lions throughout the whole spring split. Showing up in playoffs, it's definitely going to be a tough one to decide who is the better jungler in the series.
Yeah, and these two junglers have a bit of a different style, because when I look at Inspired, he is the efficiency king, the guy that will be up 3 camps on you without even realizing how it happened. And oftentimes, Elyoya, the other hand, is the guy that surprises you a bit. When these two junglers faced off against each other the last time, it was, you know, the full clear jungle meta we're so used to seeing, where Inspired would walk into the enemy jungle, place down a
Bit
ward.
of a trade here, though. Level 1, Carzzy taking a big chunk out there, and as interesting as the junglers are, it looks like Rogue are more interested on winning out in some of these individual matchups.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing, right? You always expect Rogue to have super powerful lanes early on, and something that Elyoya will have to consider, because with Inspired pathing from the top side down, very often you would go in, ward the enemy jungle, but Elyoya's brilliance in their last face-off was dodging around the vision, knowing the predictable wards, and being able to find really creative ganks.
Yeah, we'll see if we can find those ganks. Both junglers pathing towards the bot side here, and Varus is a pick that we haven't seen much in Europe. I think Hans is the only one who's pulled it out. We've seen a lot in the LPL along things like Ezreal, definitely showing up in this early lane phase against the MAD Lions bot lane, who I think Carzzy and Kaiser throughout the whole of Spring Split were almost like an inconsistency factor for MAD Lions, you know. Despite having a topside lead, they would always throw it with going so aggressive into bot side or finding these 2v2 kills that even happened to them a lot. So the inconsistency was very, very stark contrast to what you see in playoffs now. I think playoffs, Carzzy has definitely stepped up. The lane phase is more consistent. The damage output is through the roof. And on those hyper carries, he seems to have a lot more comfort.
And it is incredible, Mad's turnaround. You think about the absolute collapse of this team at Worlds to an inconsistent regular season, to then be able to show up in playoffs like it's nothing. Remember, they were throwing leads in the regular season, massive early game advantages on single Baron plays left and right, and now it feels like, well, yes, they have fallen behind in the early game against Rogue. They have been able to show up so consistently mid to late game to win out on these team fights. That said, as much as the stories are important here, we got to keep our eyes on the junglers. We set that expectation, and now Inspired and Elyoya on the same side of the map. Neither side going to be able to have a big advantage. Important to note, Hansama, no mana, but a very big health advantage.
Yeah, right now Rogue have bot priority, but Humanoid has mid priority for MAD Lions. Now Elyoya on the early game Udyr feels really strong in any sort of these fights, so it may be an all-out brawl for the Scuttle Crab, because Elyoya will not want to give this up, and both mid laners are resetting so they can TP back and fight.
Yeah. Trymbi and Hansama getting pushed away by Kaiser, the engage.
Lands.
Oh!
They've got the setup, that's the Ignite now ticking. He's trying to move out the crash down. The extra shield going to keep him healthy for now. Hansama not too afraid, throwing down auto attacks in response, but MAD Lions backing away. Does mean Elyoya will be able to grab the crab on the back of that solid trade.
Yeah, looks like he'll pick it up. Both mid laners did TP back, but there was a lot of fighting in the bot side. There was so many cool mechanical plays there. Trymbi cancelling the first combo from Kaiser, but in the end, they contested the bot wave. They pushed out to contest the crab, and now Elyoya can get a huge lead from this. I mean, double crab in the early stages of the jungle is so important when it comes to getting the first items and setting up vision on the map.
Yeah, it's absolutely crucial. And again, Odoamne on the other side has priority top side for Rogue, but Inspired, it's a blue buff versus a red buff. It's level 4 Hecarim versus level 4 Udyr is not going to want to take that trade. So already great start for Elyoya.
Yeah, definitely a great start, especially against a player like Inspired, who we saw yesterday is so clean at getting these efficient pathings to get himself ahead.
Respawn.
He is around mid. The Raptor respawn is coming up as well, so if he can deny this, that's a 3-camp advantage for Elyoya in the first 4 minutes of the game.
TP used by Odoamne, wants to stay involved in that laning phase, but with the gravity field already down, maybe Larssen, is it a false sense of security? Elyoya could try to roam through, but look how he's pathing down to the bottom side of the lane, has the vision there to cover him, knows that he can feel relatively comfortable. However, Inspired going to find out the Raptors are now gone, letting him know that for now, at least, Elyoya is on the top side of the map.
Yeah, and Humanoid winning out on this mid-match. He might try to cancel Larssen here. He does in the end. Larssen doesn't have TP, no potions to work with either, and the wave is frozen. And that's going to be really difficult for Larssen. When he comes back to lane, he should be down a lot of CS. So, the early
Humanoid
game...
knows he's in that bush too. He can keep stopping this.
Yeah, stops him again. The early game for the mid-jungle of MAD Lions is definitely in their favor. This gold lead you see on the screen at the top there, 300, is just purely from the mid-jungle.
And of course, important to note that the last time we saw these two teams play, even though MAD Lions did win, it was early game every single time for Rogue. So important and dramatic shift here in this game, even with a draft that we're maybe a little bit more worried about when it comes to team fights, that they have been able to at least stop for now the early game pressure of Rogue.
Yeah, and I mean, this is to some extent MAD Lions and Elyoya coming in with an early game plan, because in that series it was so often the full clear handshake between these two junglers, and Elyoya said no, calling the shots in the early game like we've heard MAD Lions say he does a million times before. He wants to fight over the Scuttle Crabs with that first pick Udyr, and off the reset, MAD Lions pathing towards mid.
Yeah, I think they want to crash this mid wave. Trymbi's around. Carzzy also roamed up because there's no need for him to be bot. Looks like the wave will bounce in the end, so Larssen should be safe in this mid matchup. Jungle supports just showing themselves just in case anyone might try to look for some kind of gank. But Humanoid, you can already see the CS. He's going to use the Viktor ultimate on this wave to push it in, get a free base, and that just gets him a natural creep advantage from just early lane phase trades, getting him ahead, and that's really, really good, especially in this Orianna Viktor matchup. Going into the mid to late game, getting those items first is going to be so crucial.
Yeah, and right now, already seeing the big lead start to develop in both jungle and mid lane for the Mad Lions, but there is a concern they have to think about. With level 6s coming through on the map, we already know Rogue have so many good tools to force fights, and also with both top laners using their TP, now Odo has the ability to influence mid and bot without a response.
Yeah, with the ultimate from Gangplank, but just bringing it back to the mid jungle, look at the lead that they have. Elyoya has almost like a 4 camp advantage onto Inspired. We can see it in the gold already, 300 gold lead there. And then you look in mid, Humanoid will come back to mid to pick up this wave, and he's going to have around 10-15 CS lead as well. So really well played from the early game from the mid jungle of Mad Lions, definitely stepping up in this series, because you'd argue that the Udyr does have favorable matchup into the Hecarim in the early game, and it looks like Mad Lions have the pushing lanes to actually contest Rogue.
Look, Elyoya's doing the Inspired. He's just back here every single time for the Raptor respawn. He knows those timers like the back of his hand, and, well, doesn't bother with the red buff, but you take all those small wins.
And credit to Elyoya, of course, as a player. He said so many times, he said in interviews on Euphoria, you know, no matter who he's playing against, no matter what the circumstances, he always tries to learn from his opponent. In this case, very obvious is a move that Inspired has done before. Not sure where he learned it, but mimicking some of the plays that we have seen from Inspired. And also important to note, you guys brought it up, is another combo canceled, well played by Trymbi. We'll hold that thought as Hansama just hit level 6. Kaiser now going to be triple. He has been rooted up. That's the crash down the Gangplank. All to follow. Kaiser running for the hills, but it's not enough. First blood for Hansama. That's going to be big. Carzzy forced to back away.
Yeah, it's a big 2v2, but it's a 3v2. Odoamne with the cannon barrage. Rogue were waiting for this moment, and they strike first in the LEC finals.
That's definitely going to hurt this bot matchup. Hansama getting first, but I think Inspired's on the Dragon as well. So, no, it looks like he's on the bot crab. So the advantage is from Rogue coming from the bot side of the map. That's going to help out Inspired, who can get the crab. A little bit of bot priority there, which he didn't have in the level 3, level 4. And we'll see this replay again. Hansama just trading aggressively onto Kaiser, who gets his combo cancelled again. This is the second one that Trymbi's cancelled with the stun on the engage, and then getting a level up from the creep. You'll see Hansama hitting the minion there, leveling up, tossing out the ultimate. Kaiser not flashing it in the end, gets taken down.
Yeah, presumably Trymbi has spent more time out of lane. That's why he's level 4. So the level 6, completely unexpected there for the Mad Lions, because that was, you know, 4 players all 100% HP, but with the help of the cannon barrage, enough to get the kill.
And at the end of the day, this kind of bot lane priority has been so important for Rogue. You saw it cost a little bit to Elyoya, or to Inspired rather, in the early game when Elyoya had bot priority from Carzzy and Kaiser. He was able to take away those crabs. The fact that Hansama is now coming into lane, finding kills at level 6, that Trymbi is backing him up, canceling any of the aggression from Mad Lions, is big for Rogue, because while Inspired is inevitably the center of attention after his fantastic performance yesterday, Hansama is key in Rogue building up these early leads.
Yeah, definitely. And Hans is the only player in this game with prior finals experience, right? So getting kills onto him, getting resource onto him is so important, because he has that experience to bring it home if it needs to be.
And yet Rogue do know that early kills do not a game make. They are the sort of the team that's known for building up lane advantages and not necessarily killing you to get their early lead. So the gold overall is still dead even because, again, of the mid-jungle combination. I have to say that sort of the evolution already that we've seen from the mid matchup has been Larssen on the back foot. No, Elyoya's mid.
Trying to proc phase rush. Has to hold on to a few cooldowns, but he's going to continue to walk forward just to make sure the wave does push in. Hansama and Trymbi, though, already going to be grabbing a few plates. It doesn't look like Kaiser.
I see a Raptor camp.
Carzzy are comfortable to contest, and now Inspired. It's a battle for the chickens. Inspired comes in and swoops at least a little bit away, but still a tough break for the Hecarim.
Yeah, Udyr is definitely ahead in this matchup. Timing the Raptors, getting himself ahead. He did have a level lead, almost level 8, so he's definitely a level up onto Inspired here. Starting up the Herald. It's on a ward though, so looks like Rogue will know, but can they answer? They have top push, they have mid push. Larssen needs to go to base. The only real winning lane here for Rogue is their bot side, right? Larsen's down 15 CS. Inspired's fallen behind, but it looks like it will be a Dragon for Herald trade, which is obviously favored to the Herald, given the game state, right? They didn't lose anything for this Herald, and they can use it for extra gold to contest the second Drake. So naturally ahead for Mad Lions there, but a good pickup on the cross map for Rogue.
Now there is going to be another window here for Rogue. Odoamne's cannon barrage is going to be up, and that's just before the teleport returns from Armut. Even Odoamne, his TP, going to be up relatively soon. So if Rogue do want to set up a player on bot side, I think that would be smart. You can already see, like on the minimap right now, Humanoid is pathing up towards the top lane.
Yeah, maybe you want to look some kind of cross map, because maybe Inspired wants the Herald bot tower. 3 plates left. One Herald crash with some kind of mid-push should take that tower down, and once that tower's down, your bot lane's unlocked. They can move around the map, and that's key if Rogue want to get this early game snowballing.
320 guaranteed gold. He's got a few more minutes to use it, but of course 14 minutes. The timer on the tower plates will fall away. Wants to get it down soon. The question will be, where do they want to focus those resources? For Carzzy, not on the hyper carry that we've seen from him across the playoffs so far. We got used to the Jinx. We got used to the big damage output. Jhin certainly can put those big numbers up there, but not necessarily the carry you would expect to do so. So on a more utility-focused pick, do they shift attention away from the bot side to try to put someone like Humanoid ahead, who has been, up until maybe this point, building a natural lead for himself. Both sides proccing phase rush, though, and will back away.
Look at the map right now. Trymbi's actually path towards topside, will be seen on a ward, so unlikely we see him commit towards the play. But you also have Kaiser and Elyoya on this side of the map.
Yeah, Kaiser moving up. Didn't need to be on the bot wave. And Trymbi's around too. There's a lot of wards here for Mad Lions, so they're going to spot out Trymbi, but Trymbi doesn't spot out Kaiser. He smells something though, so the pink is going to clear away the wards while Elyoya's farming his camps. They want to find somewhere to use this Herald push. Maybe they can look for mid, maybe they can look for top, because bot lane's such a struggle for them right now. Maybe they can crack Larssen's flash, and it means that they can look for dives later on.
Yeah, it's a Raptor play once again with Kaiser in the mid lane.
No shockwave, but he's not going to overpush his hand. He knows that Trymbi is in the area, and Elyoya...
The Raptors again.
It's crazy, man.
He honestly owns this Raptor camp. Like, this man has rented the property. Inspired's trying to get him out of the lease. He says the contract terms are not good, but Elyoya is not having it, dude.
But do look at the bot lane right now, because a big wave was just crashed in, and with the time that Kaiser spent towards the top side, well, now Hansama way too far forward.
Got out, good combo, a lot of burst damage coming in. Hansama needs to make it out safety. The flash, the heal, the blast going to follow up. Carzzy flashing over with the 4-shot. Can't get it done. They're trying to turn it back. Trymbi some good damage, but Inspired ready to go over the wall. Carzzy going to get taken down. That's a good response. They're now trying to back him up. Larssen trying to ferry him out to safety. He will make it out for now. Larssen, is he going to be the one in trouble? Phase rush proc. Trap on the ground. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough. A good turn back from Rogue.
A bit shocking there. It turns into a 1 versus 1. Hansama acting as the initiation. Did not expect Kaiser to be there so soon, but good for them that Inspired was ready to fire back and trade it into a 1-for-1.
Yeah, I think Hans was kind of fake pressuring Carzzy off the tower there. Tried to look for the 1v1. Maybe he was threatening some kind of Gangplank ult, but Larssen's vulnerable here. He has no mana, has the shockwave though. Level up's gonna give him a lot of mana, but here's the Herald. Kaiser's around. They want to look for some kind of dive perhaps.
Shockwave to clear the wave. The Herald didn't even spawn yet, so it is going to give tower aggro over. Larssen can feel pretty comfortable here. That Shockwave's actually massive. It really stops his Herald from getting a little bit more. And now Trymbi and Inspired in the area. Mad have no room to follow up.
Yeah, it's possible Rogue could force Elyoya off the Scuttle Crab. It depends when it's spawning. I think it's coming up right now. Elyoya does not have a smite though. And it will just be another small win for him, able to sneak that away before Inspired gets into his jungle. So jungle lead maintained by Elyoya, but if we were actually to pull up the gold, even with that early kill, you can see about 350 still there for Elyoya, but not the same lead it once was.
Yeah, and the mid lane's cash up as well. Larsen's there, but Rogue are in the bot side jungle here. They don't have the GP ult to work with. Both top laners have TP, so this could be a 5v5 at a snap of a finger. Contesting this red buff. Larssen doesn't have shockwave. Inspired doesn't have ult. This might be risky.
It's going to be big. Kaiser with ultimate does mean that they could try to force a fight, but they will not take the risk. Just a cheeky steal attempt there on the deadly flourish. Jhin will back away.
Yeah, and Rogue keep having this bot push, and you can see they're moving with Larssen, because Larssen TP'd back. They knew Humanoid had the base, and they moved in to the bot side jungle. And they're just kind of dominating this. Maybe they want to look for some kind of dive. Carzzy has no sums. Kaiser has no sums. There's double TP on both top laners here. They might look for it.
Inspired ultimate almost available. Kaiser taking his time here, debating when he needs to find the knockback. Larssen in the area. Shockwave not quite available yet. They're getting the TP for now as Armut's committing a few sums. Happy to make his way down.
Ow.
Yeah, and Inspired's ultimate wasn't up for that play. It was about 3 seconds before it came up. Just came up now. Larssen didn't have the shockwave either, so that's why Rogue didn't commit to the play. Getting the TP from Armut's huge, though. They just need to make sure that they're safe here, unless they want to look for a play, because mid tower's falling.
Engage is going to be there immediately. All comes back from Kaiser. They're trying to stop it, but he is an unstoppable pony. Inspired, though, is just going to dash out to safety. Kaiser now going to walk away as well. That's the TP coming in from the GP, but the plates have fallen away, and already Humanoid is breaking down the mid lane. Rogue are going to match in this play, but they might find themselves in trouble.
I mean, it's so huge that Mad Lions are able to disengage that without losing a single player. Yes, the turret goes down, but the entire time that Rogue were setting up that play on bot side, Humanoid was chilling in mid lane, knocking down that tower. Larssen lost more minions, and at the same time, Elyoya full cleared the top side away from Rogue. So this is Rogue feeling feeling pressure to make plays, but Mad Lions continuing to gain advantages elsewhere on the map.
Yeah, you can see how the story of the game's going, right? Rogue playing heavy for bot side despite being behind in mid jungle, and now even further behind in mid jungle. The items being picked up now. Elyoya still a level ahead of Inspired, and Humanoid still having that CS advantage over Larssen in this mid jungle matchup. But look at Hans, almost 40 CS up, has that Kraken Slayer already, so we'll have to see how they move around with their bot lane, because Drake's spawning soon. They already have the first dragon, bot power's down. Looks like Hans is going to be around mid, and they want to fight for some kind of neutral objective here.
And 15 minutes in, massive gold leads across all the lanes, but at the end of the day, it results in a dead even gold score, 24.5 to about 24.4. There's a Mountain Drake or an Infernal Drake there too, as Elyoya now trying to find the dive, running in. Good combo CC, good flash out from Odoamne, though, trying to hold on. That's the grass proc, but not nearly enough. Mad find a kill. Hansama now looking at the response. They know Kaiser does not have ultimate. It makes it an easy pickup, but that is going to be the Gnar. Trymbi now trying to turn it into strong bars, but maybe not strong enough. Elyoya just doing so much damage in this exchange, looking for one more. Are you kidding me? That Udyr is power. powerful.
Mad Lions feeling good with the dive on the top side. Elyoya and Armut tanked the tower for a century. It felt like it did not matter, though they were strong enough, and Rogue did not have the damage to kill him.
Yeah, and Inspired this whole time was towards the bot side of the map, so he couldn't join the fight. Huge play from Mad Lions, who were the ones to initiate this. Rogue were the ones who had to be reactive. You can see Hans and Trymbi trying to get to the play in time, but Mad Lions didn't even have a wave here. They just had enough damage to take down Odoamne. Armut tanking the tower smart, and then by the time Rogue's bot lanes arrived, the mid-jungle of Rogue aren't even there, so it's just a 2v3. They do end up picking up Kaiser with Armut on the Gnar, jumps in alongside Elyoya, and they pick up another kill.
And there's a Rift Herald on the back end of that too, so Mad Lions can continue to try and press their advantage and extend their threat in this game. The thing to keep in mind on Rogue's side, they were able to get the first 2 Drakes of the game. They have a very strong AoE teamfight combination to work with, so this will force Mad Lions into fights against them. But if Mad Lions can continue to extend this gold lead, sometimes the composition advantages from Rogue may not matter.
And again, stark contrast to the first series. First series, it was Mad falling behind, Mad coming back in teamfights. This time around, it is Rogue falling behind. Rogue, the team that will need to bring it back in teamfights. Mad Lions, instead, we get to see a test that we haven't seen for them in a while, which is snowballing this gold lead, building this early massive advantage to be bigger and bigger to the point where Rogue's teamfight strengths are no longer relevant. But that said, we're in an interesting position. The gold lead very close, 1k difference. Potentially, you could argue, balanced out by the Drakes as it now shrinks down to 600. So if you're at home, we got to know. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes there's a G2 or Fnatic and fan favorites win out. But today we got to find the new fan favorites. So who do you think will win LEC Spring 2021? Mad or Rogue? You can vote in chat now. That is MAD or RGE. Let us know who you think is taking this one. Is Elyoya ready for a bit of a top play?
Yeah, hovering towards the top side here. Mad Lions' objective is the top tower. Humanoid's towards the bot side with TP. Armut's in mid without TP, so he can move because of the shorter lane. So really good setup from Mad Lions. Rogue have to respond, so they're on the back foot. You can see Odoamne hovering around in the jungle. Rogue might look for a fight here if Elyoya goes too deep.
It's debating. That's going to be the stun, that's going to be the fall, but the Udyr is just so tanky. Armut now coming over the wall. Looks like he's tired for now. Might want to strike the rage, but that's going to be the GP ult. Big barrels on the side, could matter, but they're going to run away pretty quickly, not let anything else go down, and they get the tower in the process.
Mad Lions get the objective on a numbers disadvantage. Humanoid's pushing in bot, and Rogue have sent 5 members towards his top side here. Humanoid was ready to TP if a fight kicked off, but he knew that Mad Lions could back away. The GP ultimate's wasted, and now no one's farming bot wave. Odoamne's falling behind. He's going to have to run all the way down to bot, or Larssen can move bot, and then Odoamne can catch mid. The setup from Mad Lions was so good and set up to make Rogue lose out on the map.
And it's just the same situation over and over again. For Rogue, it feels like, where they're throwing numbers at a play, not really connecting. It's surprising considering all the engaged tools they have, but, well, the Chains of Corruption go wide for Hansama. Odo's ult isn't quite enough to get Inspired into range to pull the trigger on that one too, so Rogue end up disengaging the play and losing out so much.
Yeah, really good setup from Mad Lions there. Rogue on the back foot, you'd say, in this early game, and they need to find some kind of team fight to crack the game open, and those team fights are going to be around the dragons. Now, Mad Lions have invested a lot of their resources into early gold, right? Getting the early towers, getting the early heralds, making sure they're ahead in gold, so when they come to contesting this 3rd and 4th dragon, they'll be naturally ahead in items.
Yeah, and it is worth pointing out that the Rogue's bot lane did do well early on, right? So there's a bit of a gold imbalance. Mid-jungle, of course, for Mad Lions doing very well, so when it comes to the team fights, it's mainly about, like, Humanoid, the damage he can output, whereas Hansama does have quite a sizable lead over his opponent in Carzzy, and Rogue needs to do everything in their power to make sure he's in a position where he can freely auto-attack and deal the damage he needs to.
Yeah.
And definitely positional pressure, but again, Hansama, the man with experience, but Mad, the team who have the fans behind them. Of course, it's not the roaring boom of a crowd, but it is still something that matters a lot, having the faithful behind you. 63% to 37. I think pretty fair when we've seen the biggest strength for Rogue, which has been their early game, dismantled a bit in this game 1 by Mad Lions, a team who were very confidently winning so many of the team fights. Maybe that phase starts to fade away a little bit as the Herald is summoned in the Raptor Pit. I think out of necessity, just because there was really nowhere else to put it at that point.
Yeah, it'll get there and do something eventually, okay? Just has to do the whole long walk down mid lane. Maybe even Rogue could hit it, but I think that Mad Lions have enough players here to make sure they can keep walking it forward. And I do want to remind us, such a critical difference too. While we talked so much about Elyoya, Humanoid just outright winning this matchup after being pushed in. You know, the entire time these two teams face each other. Last all 3 lanes now for Mad Lions, continuing to pressure forward and support them in this aggressive style.
Yeah, and Humanoid has TP to join this fight. Dragon spawning in 18 seconds. Armut's already hitting onto this bot tower, and Larssen's kind of grouping up. Maybe he's scared of some kind of dive, or he wants to get that blue buff before the fight starts. And Rogue, if they lose this mid push, it's going to be really hard for them to contest this Dragon. Humanoid basing, picking up the Void Staff, TPing in. 2 items, Viktor.
Could be the big fight in the mid lane. TP's going down, both fights. Both teams know it, they're ready. They want to find this one. So far, it's been skirmishes left and right. It's been map play, and now it's going to come down to the pure 5v5 and who can find the advantage. Good bit of early poke coming down for Hansama, but keep your eyes on the ball from Orianna and the ulti coming in from Armut off to the side. The rage bar is stacking. Rogue are in the pinch. That's the ultimate. They're buying a bit more space, but not a significant amount of damage. Curtain Call opens up to take Odoamne to about 60%. He heals right back up. Scuttlecrab goes down. A bit of vision control, but Inspired, he's ready. He's looking for the engage. He's looking for the opportunity. He's pushed Carzzy out of the fight. Now they want to get things going. Trymbi in the midst of everyone, but he gets stunned. He gets locked up. The shark brings it back. He's still alive. Trymbi just barely getting shut down, and MAD Lions getting crushed in the fight. Kaiser and Carzzy running for their lives. It's a quick 3 kills picked up by the side of Rogue.
Hansama lives with 1 HP, and it was Hansa and Trymbi seeing Humanoid step too far forward. They were the ones able to single out the MAD Lions member where all the money is for MAD Lions. They take him out of the fight. Hansama lives. That's a 1 fight for Rogue.
I'm so surprised Rogue won that fight. They had so little terrain to work with. They were in a choke. It was so difficult for them to get out and push out after the Jhin ultimate, but the Shockwave finds 3. Hansama's free hitting on the backside just about lives, like you say. So, wow, such a good setup for Rogue. They're on Dragon Soul point now. They picked up 3 kills. This early game advantage for MAD Lions is falling apart.
I mean, it's such a critical moment in the game, too, because MAD Lions win this fight. They already had a gold lead. That can lead to things like Baron, but here you have Trymbi setting up for the Chains of Corruption into a 3-man Shockwave. The Shockwave didn't just kill Viktor, it also set up for the shutdown on Elyoya, too. So big kills going over the carries of Rogue.
Which is surprising, right? This game's a game of opposites. Rogue losing the early game and winning out on the fights, when MAD Lions were the team in this series who were losing out in the early games and winning out on the fights. So really good setup for Rogue, despite having so little room to work with.
And again, we thought if MAD Lions' composition was going to win in any team fight scenario, it would be where Rogue are forced to fight into them. And they were, but instead, a quick shockwave over the wall. You can see Humanoid does a ton of damage, but if he can't get a second rotation out there, it's simply not enough when his AD carry doesn't get to participate in the fight, when the Elyoya is getting taken out of the fight, and honestly, eyes on that Orianna ball for every team fight to follow. Larssen Shockwave, massive.
Yeah, it was absolutely massive, and that's put him back into the game, right? He's even in gold with Humanoid, even despite being down in the early game, down in the mid game, not being in the right place at the right time, and Humanoid farming up for free. Hansama also has secured a shutdown for himself. All the kills, barring 1, are on the carries of Rogue, so I have to see how they use them. They have so much team fight spells to work with. You can see if MAD Lions group up even for 1 second, the Shockwave connects, a GP ult, a Hecarim ult, it's lights out.
Take a breath. 23 minutes, the goal just about dead even. Another fight could be coming in at any moment. But for now, gold dead even, yes, but it is 3 Drakes to Rogue. They get to decide the next fight. We saw this yesterday. You can go to Dragon, you can go to Baron, but the team with 3 Drakes always wins that trade.
Especially when you've got the team fight comp, the premier wombo to try and run at MAD Lions, and you have to take stock. Well, Carzzy doesn't have flash all the way up until that Drake does end up spawning. He's a sitting duck here. If Rogue ever see him caught out of position, they see Elyoya now.
Yeah, the engage Odoamne now coming in. They've got good damage now. Elyoya not nearly as strong as he was earlier. But now Carzzy looking for the interrupt. Armut now stepping forward. That's the shockwave. But Larssen, it might be too little too late. Eyes on the Gnar. The Gnar gets 3 into the wall, but it's not enough. Armut getting taken down. Rogue have found 2 more kills. They can do anything they want on this map. How are Rogue making this work?
Humanoid wasn't even there. MAD Lions opted into that fight, and Rogue, 5-player strong, want it. Now Odo has to flash away, but Elyoya's fast.
Stepping forward, a lot of cooldowns missing, but Humanoid not the best in this chase situation. Really wants Rogue to fight into him. Good picks coming in from the Rogue lineup.
Yeah, both teams are on a knife's edge in a sense. They want to find a fight. You can see Inspired engaging onto Elyoya with flash up, and Kaiser wanting to re-engage despite having a numbers disadvantage. You have to question what these teams are even fighting for. There's no Dragon, there's no Baron setup for either team, so no one can really find any neutral objectives off this fight. But they both just want to pull the trigger and find and engage. You can see Rogue grouping up, MAD Lions grouping up, but look at Humanoids, he's too far away. I don't even know if Rogue know this, but they just tried to engage onto Elyoya, and Kaiser's re-engage, although he does knock Larssen into Armut, they don't have the burst to take him down. The Shockwave finding 2, the Magnet Storm and Hansama free hitting on the backline.
Look, MAD Lions have to be super smart about their fights. They need the numbers, and they're looking for Odo.
Good cast. He'll take his time. He's just going to go in for the fight. He knows
Larssen
Armut's
TP
coming.
in.
Big TP, though, but Humanoid can't just turn. He can throw down the gravity field. Instead, he's going to try to walk away. Odoamne just looking for the 1v1 against Elyoya. That's shield bow. Now he's trying to get a little bit more of the rage coming in. They will manage to finish the job, but Larssen in the area. Trymbi in the area. Hans can collapse as well. It is a minute 30 to Dragon. It is 35 seconds on Elyoya. Rogue will have control of the pit.
The weak side king in a 1v4 just straight up gets the solo kill. The rest of Rogue have the threat to keep marching on forward. That mid lane tower now looking very vulnerable.
Yeah, it looks like Rogue Rogue should be able to pick this up. They have a lot of members here, and Hans can hit it if he wants to. He has the flash, but it might not be worth it. Having to flash away 1 minute before your soul is definitely not something you want to do, and Elyoya had to burn flash in this exchange. What did Odoamne have to burn? Nothing. He had no flash, and the GP ult wasn't up, so definitely favored when it comes to this 4th Dragon in 50 seconds. Rogue already have the setup, and Mad Lions don't have much to work with in terms of face check unless Alistar or Kaiser can run in, and then they might have to pop the ult early. If Hans finds a chain of corruption or a shockwave hits the backline, it's going to be really hard for Mad Lions to find some kind of vision to contest this 4th Dragon.
Yeah, and as that tower does fall, Rogue going to take a backseat. Trymbi goes back to base, make sure he can get some wards in the inventory, double controls, because again, it's about controlling space now for the Mad Lions. If they see an angle, see an entrance into a team fight, see an area where they can sort of group up multiple members of Mad Lions, they are going to pop against Larssen and Hansama.
Mad Lions have found some kind of control here. Rogue having to back off, but looks like the 5v5 grouping up. 17 seconds on the Dragon. Trymbi.
Kaiser going forward. Is going to get locked up in the gravity field. Is going to get it out with the ultimate for now, but he's just getting burned down. They simply do too much damage at this point of the game. Kaiser getting dropped off does mean Rogue now have the teamfight advantage. Half of Trymbi's health for Kaiser's life is not a good exchange.
Rogue, they just have to wait out this Gnar for Armut, and then the team fight's looking real good. Armut going in!
Stridebreaker forward, he's managed to lock up Hansama.
Elyoya going in too, but the Shockwave says no! Not today! Larssen has Hansama's back, and Rogue will take the fight. Rogue, absolute masterclass in these fights.
Rogue are going to get the Dragon, they're going to get the Baron as well. You can see the members of Rogue splitting up here. They know they have both neutral objectives and almost a 4,000 gold lead. So Rogue with this teamfight composition absolutely popping off. You can see Kaiser tried to find Trymbi, but again, he cancels the combo with the stun, and Kaiser's the one who falls.
Even after falling victim to Mad Lions in the early game a bit from the side of Rogue, they are out teamfighting them. They drafted for this, and now Carzzy, I mean, no chance here. Rogue are just going to be able to soak up this 4th and final bullet and secure themselves the Baron.
Incredible. We went from a dead even game to 2 back-to-back fights in favor of Rogue. The Baron now the Mountain Soul. The only way Rogue loses at this point is if they throw it all away.
Yeah, look at Trymbi with this stun here. Kaiser thinks he's found Trymbi, but Trymbi's the one who's found Kaiser. Cancels the combo last second, so he doesn't get knocked up, so Mad Lions can't follow up. There's no target to hit, and then once Kaiser's fallen, that's one of the frontliners down for Mad Lions. Yes, Armut's in the Gnar, but Rogue played slow, and he has to overreach to find the engage. He gets Hansama, but what's the follow-up? Humanoid's too far away. Carzzy can't pop the ult because he needs to hit Inspired, and then from there, Rogue win the fight.
Yeah, I mean, even Humanoid rather getting caught out there by Inspired and taken down. We have to remember, only one player on this stage has been in an LEC finals before. That is Hansama. Both teams in their first game feeling it out, seeing what fights they can go for, and so far it has been Rogue that are just better.
Inspired. Looking on the bot side here. Armut has no flash, so he finds he might look for an engage, but you're absolutely right. Hansama's the only one who's been in the final. You can see when Armut overextends for that engage in the last fight, he doesn't even blow his flash. He knows he's absolutely fine. And Hansama playing very clean this game, keeping his flash up just in case he needs to use it and get away from this front line of Mad Lions.
And proving and further reminding us that it's not just early game advantage champions like the Ashe and Kalista, that his damage output in teamfights can be incredible on picks like this Varus. Already halfway to 3 items. We know how much his damage increase is going to, or how much his damage is going to shoot through the roof in that circumstance. But for Mad, the story now is how long can they survive? 28 minutes into the game against Mountain Soul, against Baron Buff, down 6k gold. Can they hold on?
I'm looking at Kaiser. He has the flash up. He might want to look for an engage because they're losing inhibs here.
Humanoid's still top lane though. He's recalling. It's 8 seconds away.
His snare. For now, it's a slow fight. Armut stacking the rage. They've got a little bit of time here, but they are going to give up bot lane. The rest of Rogue just backing off. They're playing this one patient. This is what we know Rogue can do. When they build a big enough lead, when they have a teamfight advantage here, no surprise to see them play it out nice and slow.
So rare to see Rogue make mistakes in an instance like this. Armut uses his ultimate, but he gets nothing done here. He has to hop away.
Yeah, Gnar's out. I think they're going to have to back off here. Rogue should be able to pick up the inhib. You can see Larssen's already left the bot side. He's going towards mid to push in the wave. As long as Rogue are safe here and they get out, they can start sieging onto the next inhibitor.
And the poke and the harass from Mad just won't amount to much against the Mountain Soul. 1E from Viktor, not enough to really impact these health bars. Carzzy going to want to stay back. Very hard for Mad to get sustained damage down against any priority targets without really solid ways to get in the backline. Maybe, just maybe, they can pray for Armut to find it, but he's already leaping back to safety as Odoamne just escorting these waves in, has the barrels he can lay down over the wall. He's not one-shotting Carzzy yet, but he is doing good damage, and Rogue just going to keep pushing in slowly but surely. They are a juggernaut in the face of Mad's early game. They are determined to win this one.
Yeah, Rogue are just watching Armut and Kaiser. Armut doesn't have the Gnar yet, but it's building up. Shockwave connects though.
Good Shockwave. But now they know one of their biggest teamfight tools is down. Rogue will back away for now. Baron buff slowly fading, 12 seconds left. They're going to be happy with the 2 inhibitors that they got. They are still set to take total control of this game 30 minutes in.
Yeah, total control here. They still have the Mountain Soul. Mad Lions can't find the engage. Kaiser has flash up. Armut gets Mega Gnar, but they can't find an engage because Humanoid was pushing out top. Rogue in the end picking up 2 inhibitors on that Baron. That's so crucial. The first Baron has secured them 2 inhibitors. Now they can just go towards the top side of the map, push in the waves with either Orianna or GP, make sure the mid and bot waves crash, and start sieging this top tower. So Mad Lions are the one who need to find an engage in the next couple of minutes.
And even then, you ask, like, what can the Mad Lions actually do? Because we've seen Armut, Elyoya try to dive into the backlines before, but they simply do not have enough damage to remove a critical carry from Rogue. All their damage is Humanoid, Carzzy, these guys very far away. That's what they have to play for, but even then, those players are just weaker than their Rogue counterparts.
Yeah,
now.
exactly. When Kaiser flashed in, what's the follow-up, barring Armut perhaps? Because the Chaos Storm's not going to get to the backline. If he had a Shockwave, maybe Hans would get one popped and he'd be scared to walk up, but Hans isn't really scared of much. He's got a stopwatch, he's got his flash, and so does Larssen.
And now Rogue Clap pushing in on the top side. Mad Lions maybe hoping to find a collapse here, but for now, they're honestly just holding on, using that Viktor wave clear to good effect, but with 2 waves of super, 1 for now, as Armut is at least pushing out the bottom lane, stopping too much pressure from going against him. Elyoya just threatening, just trying to find some kind of opportunity. I like
G2
the
in the finals.
G2 flare.
The G2 flare. Yeah, you're completely right. Armut's pushed out bot. That's huge for the side of Mad Lions because that means they can clear mid wave, which is the closest tower to top side, so they can bar the siege a little bit, but the GP ult comes out to get the siege going.
Lockdown, but immediately GP ult is going to be more important. Yes, Inspired will go down, but what is the cost? Because he manages to take it out to safety. In the meantime, Rogue are breaking the tower. It is PvE gameplay. They do not need to fight Mad, but Mad might have different plans. The leap out from Armut, trying to get the stacks down, wants the hyper proc. It's Elyoya in the darkness, waiting in the flank, hoping to find something, but little does he know, Inspired backing just inches away from him with no health whatsoever.
Yeah, and Elyoya did not want to tango with Odoamne. He remembers what happened the last time, and it did not end well for him. And even if Mad Lions were able to find that fight, the brilliance is we're still a minute away from any neutral objective spawning. They would have only gotten gold. They would have only held on longer. They could not have converted. Now, a fight, if it were to break out, would be Mad Lions' only chance to get back in. Otherwise, they're facing down a Baron buff and an Elder Dragon with 2 towers left to defend their Nexus.
Yeah, but I think that Mad kind of had a window there, right? Inspired was out of the fight with an ultimate. The GP ult was used for the siege, and Mad Lions were the ones pushing forwards. Rogue had to back off. Maybe they could have found a fight there, but in the end, they opt against it. And Armut's going to push out this top wave as fast as he can in base and look for a TP on this dragon, because it's whoever gets this Elder Dragon basically has a huge, huge advantage in the team fights.
Bit of a fumble though from the side of Rogue. Larssen TPs down to the bottom side to get blue buff. I thought it was so that they could test this objective, but then still opts to back anyway. Maybe just needed a little bit more gold for the Void Staffs. He does now have 4 items, but Orianna still, the big combos are waiting to keep our eye on. So much CC here, and how can Mad Lions really respond? They are shepherded into this corner of their own jungle because they just do not have the vision to play anywhere else.
Well, I think we saw almost the only idea from the Mad Lions. Can they split up the fight, see a target that they can try to remove, turn it into a 4 versus 5? They did that with Inspired last fight, made him have to ulti on out, and now Rogue are on a warpath.
Kaiser are going to be in trouble. He'll take the blast cone out of safety, but Armut forced to clear waves means he can't choose when his ulti is
nowhere
up and
to go.
available. Now Kaiser going to be taken down. Only level 12, only 2 ranks in the ultimate. It's just not enough, but Armut, it's big. Maybe he can turn it Carzzy though, but still Inspired off to the side. Humanoid and Carzzy alive for now. Mad are absolutely winning the fight. The 2 carries left standing for Mad. Will they be enough? Armut still living. Odoamne trying to finish a kill, but he can't do it. 4 shot from Carzzy is good damage, but Humanoid is going to go down in this exchange. Desperate to kill someone, but no! Flashes out to safety. The flash in response from Hansama. Humanoid drops. Rogue find the fight.
There are just too many carry threats from Rogue. Sure, throw everything you can to kill Larssen, but Odo and Hansama are still staring you down. Rogue take the fight, and they're going to take the Elder.
Yeah, they're going to get the Elder. They're going to get the Baron as well. Probably Humanoid dead for 40 seconds. Yes, he has the TP, but Rogue have 4 members on the map, and Mad Lions only have 2 for the next couple 30 seconds, so we'll see what they do. Carzzy's around. Maybe he want to look for some kind of steal. Trymbi's over the wall. Carzzy doesn't have sums, though. This could be dangerous. Trymbi might die.
Walking away. Trymbi set to fall. Trymbi should go down. That's going to be the hyper proc. 500 health. And immediately they get the Elder Dragon and just pop him like that.
Instantly removed from the map, and now no Humanoid, no Carzzy. Well, running into an Elder Dragon, it is not going to work for the Mad Lions. So they must give up this Baron buff, and then is that one final charge for Rogue to seal the deal on game 1.
And when we came into this game, we talked about the battle of the junglers, Elyoya and Inspired frontrunners for who will be the best in Europe. But at the end of the day, this has not been a game about the junglers. Early game, yes, it was Elyoya, but mid-late game, it has been about the carry threats from the side of Rogue. Hansama, Larssen, backed up by Trymbi, playing fantastically in these fights.
Yeah, and it looks like Kaiser kind of got caught out here, right? He split from his team, he's trying to hide on vision, but he gets spotted out in the end, and essentially he has to run away, and Mad Lions have to collapse, because if Kaiser falls, down goes the Elder Dragon. So you can see all of Mad Lions boarding towards the play, but Kaiser actually plays it pretty well. Knocks away one and that Q flashes onto Larssen, who gets rooted, and then gets chain CC'd to fall from the 4th shot from Carzzy. But like Ender said, there's so many threats on Rogue. If Larssen goes down, Hans and Odoamne is still alive, and they can input all the damage.
Yeah, and we see the best supports in Europe all the time try to go for flanks like these when you're so far down in gold, when you're outscaled, and when you're out team fought. Simply because the Gambit didn't work does not mean the idea was not strong, and yet Rogue still have every advantage they need.
Yeah, Larssen still has flash, but look at the damage Hans did in that fight. Almost 7,000 damage. That's more than almost all of Mad Lions combined.
And this is the power of Hans Sama on a carry when he is set up to succeed, and this is the power of the Varus, a pick we've been waiting to see in playoffs. Hans Sama bringing it out in the last 2 days and certainly making the mark on the map. You have to expect Pick and Ban to adjust for this potential threat.
1 inhibitor left for Mad Lions, and they're against an Elder Dragon for the next 50 seconds. Rogue siege onto that. That's 3 inhibitors down. There's really no room for you to work with if you want to leave your base, but Rogue, they might be looking at the next tower. They might be looking to end.
Cannon Barrage is buying a bit more space. Curtain Call off to the backside, but Rogue again taking their time. They can just wait for this cannon minion to do some work. Barrels posing such a massive threat from Odoamne. A single shockwave could end this game in favor of Rogue. Mad still holding on though, not willing to give it up quite yet. Want to make Rogue work for it here in game 1.
Last 16 minutes have been completely dominated by Rogue. Just 1 turret left to go. They have all the tools left, no cannon barrage, and yet Rogue are ready to finish this off. The last turret goes down.
The fight. Mad Lions
Armut's just too strong. Armut in the midst of everyone, but Armut's been locked up. A clean ult from Hans Sama means the Gnar isn't even going to push any buttons. Hans Sama dominating, inspired, going for solo kills, and the Nexus will fall. In the final fight, Rogue draw first blood.
The game came down to a single moment. It truly felt like it was that third Drake, 20 minutes on the clock, and everything it felt like was going Mad Lions' way. They had the advantage from the early game, but it was Trymbi setting up Hans Sama, setting up Larssen, the team fighting of Rogue that reigned supreme here for game 1.
An incredible credit to Trymbi. When we looked at the series he's played in the past, we said maybe a little bit of a liability, a guy who gets caught out, a guy who dies a lot. But we saw it up against Limit, and I think we're seeing it now here today. When he is shutting down another support, he is so fantastic. Every single use of that Rell E stopping Kaiser in his tracks.
Yeah, basically just outplayed him in the engage, and Kaiser couldn't find him, and I think the thing that fell apart for Mad Lions in this game was the 3rd Dragon. They dropped the Dragons early game to opt into more gold for their carries, but when it came to the Dragon fight, despite Rogue having so little terrain to work with, Trymbi was the one to find the engage, Larssen was the one to follow up, and Hans was the one to finish them off.
Incredible turnaround from Rogue in that first game after a pretty commanding Mad early game. We'll see how it shifts as Rogue have opened the finals with a win, and after the break, Sjokz, Vedius, and Bwipo will break down the key moments from game 1.
We asked you to show us your moves, and the winner is Cushion! He's playing Misfortune on the red side, starts things off with a fantastic ultimate, picking up 2 quick kills, dashing backwards into the tri-bush, looking for Rakan. Gale Force forwards, finds the kill, looking for the 4th, the double tap for the double-double. Darius is the target, knocked up with the Blast Cone and the pentakill! We'll see you in summer.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Nothing.
back, everyone, to the Analysts. Rogue are showing up here this weekend as they continued their great form from yesterday into Game 1. Yeah, actually, of course, something we have to consider. Rogue is very warm, let's say. They played yesterday. They got that practice in. Not just practice, of course, don't mean to be disrespectful, but I mean, they got to play a lot of games, and now they can continue that into today, and it showed in this game. Let's look at the draft for this first game and talk about draft priorities and maybe questionable priorities. I heard Bwipo on the side of MAD Lions. You were a bit surprised about some of the particular choices.
I was very skeptical with the Udyr first pick. Yesterday, the Hecarim was banned first, and then the Udyr first pick. Today, we see Udyr picked over the Hecarim, even with the likes of Orianna being open. So at first, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Humanoid, Orianna has been a pivotal pick for him pretty much his whole career. So prioritizing Udyr, giving away the Orianna was a very strange thing at first, but then when I actually saw the early game, I was very impressed. You saw the Udyr take away the double scuttle, you saw him get multiple camps from the Hecarim, and as well, in the Viktor-Orianna matchup, the Orianna gifted the Rogue on the 1-2, Viktor was dominating.
I think that what we saw was MAD Lions come in with a pre-prepared plan, very much expecting this to come out from Rogue, and they did answer it well. The thing that I think caught them off guard was the Varus and the Gangplank. So something we talked about a lot at the beginning of the day was how MAD Lions clearly have a high priority on this Gnar. We highlighted how they played it pretty much all the time against G2 and how they're actually willing to prioritize it for the sake of their bot lane, right? That they will allow their bot lane to flex picks and pick different things just so that they can make sure that they have that weak side top. And then with Rogue answering with things like the Varus and the GP, I think that it makes MAD Lions comp so much harder to play later into the game.
I also think Bwipo has a couple of choice words specifically for Gnar versus Gangplank and what they can offer to you in the game.
So the thing about Gnar is, what he wants to accomplish requires commitment. He has to jump into a team fight, hit multiple people with the ultimate, and then he can pretty much copy what a cannon barrage brings to a team. Just the cannon barrage alone can zone equal amounts of champions, if not more, in a non-committal fashion, meaning that Gnar has to jump in, probably die, especially into Varus Orianna. Gangplank can just drop the ultimate on Viktor and Jhin and accomplish the same thing.
We did see that a couple of times later on in the game. I do want to focus and go back to that early game, as you said. These were the choices that were made by MAD Lions, and what struck out to me is indeed that Elyoya played that very well, and it was a case of information. You very early on identified Inspired is giving up a bit too much information, also thanks to Odoamne, and Elyoya is reacting to that and therefore playing the map better.
Right, so when the jungle matchup started, Odoamne leashed the red buff, allowing Elyoya with a stronger jungler to know exactly what Inspired is going to be planning. A full clear is almost natural at this point of the jungle meta. So we see, well, right now we're going into replay of the double scuttle, but Elyoya knows Inspired's going to be here, so all he's doing is waiting for Mad's bot lane to get the push back, win the all-in fight here, and all he's doing is dancing with Inspired, making sure that Inspired can't influence the winning bot lane of Mad. Now, whether it's winning or not is something I'm not 100% sure of, but they managed to win anyway. Same thing in the mid matchup. I don't think it's actually winning for the Viktor, but thanks to some great play individually from MAD Lions in the early game, they managed to get a nice advantage in bot, mid, and jungle.
And I also have to praise my analyst here because this is exactly what you talked about before, right? Inspired being a fantastic jungler, but Elyoya being willing to take a bit more risks here and there.
I think what's impressive is that it showcases Elyoya has many similar characteristics to Inspired, and they both do a great job of being able to read the map. But I also really wanted to highlight how well Humanoid was playing that mid matchup, because Viktor in those first 3 levels are very crucial for him, and the way in which he was able to set up the wave and pressure Larssen in that 1v1 matchup is something that we don't often see from him, but he played it very well, and it allowed for what could have been a huge early game snowball in favor of MAD, which is exactly what they needed to do with their comp.
One thing to highlight in this matchup is on the first recall, Viktor grabs the Doran's ring, which obviously gives him immediate power in the lane, whereas Orianna is a tier champion. She grabs the tier against the Doran's ring, and he leverages all the way to like almost 20 CS lead in the mid lane matchup.
Indeed, and the early game was then better for the MAD Lions, even with the choices they made, but it gets to the team fights. We talked about it so much, and we wanted to take a look at the third Drake fight, which was so incredibly important. And Bwipo, you wanted to put our attention on specifically the choke points and the possibilities in position.
Absolutely. Now, Inspired going in here, the thing is, Armut's on the side looking for a flank, rather than looking to zone off this choke point with Humanoid. As you can see right now, Armut's on the side, not together with Humanoid, which means as this team fight is going to start, Trymbi's going to flash in on Humanoid, if you can roll the clip right now. You're going to see him flash in. Armut's nowhere to be found. He's not stopping Larssen and Hans from following up on the Trymbi engage. Even gets caught up in the mix. One shot, and that's going to be all she wrote for the Mad Lions.
So as a Gnar, are you suggesting he goes over the blue wall, for instance, or what should he have done?
I think he either fully commits for the flank, or he stands his ground next to Humanoid, ensuring that if Trymbi flashes in on Humanoid, he can jump over Trymbi and ensure that there's no follow-up onto the Viktor.
The most important thing to remember with any Drake fight is choke points. That's why so many teams will fight for priority over mid, so that they have easy access to the river, because no one wants to go through those narrow choke points. And what you then need to leverage is the power of your champions to make it as impossible to go through as possible. And Humanoid did a great job. And what I think Bwipo is saying here is that Armut wasn't there to help facilitate and support that. And because of that, it then gave Rogue an access, and it gave them the opportunity to get a perfect team fight, which is what they were looking for and started the snowball of the game.
I think it was a little bit of hesitation on Armut's side. I think he had the right idea. He was trying to come in from behind to throw them into the wall, but maybe the nerves kicking in a little bit here, making him hesitate, and Rogue pounce.
Exactly, they pounce. That's a great way to say it. And actually, Gnar should have pounced in that instance. And you said as well, well, generally, what Rogue has also been doing well is grabbing these Drakes even when it wasn't going too well for them, which puts them, of course, at that point where they get to that fourth Drake, and then this third Drake is so incredibly important.
So what's actually really interesting about this is that they went into topside, got the triple kill. They went topside, traded 3-for-1 onto Rogue, like almost like killed them all. Like it was a complete disaster for Rogue in the topside. But in the meanwhile, Inspired was grabbing the second Drake just like that. So coming into the third Drake, the fight we just saw, Rogue wins the fight, picks up the third Drake, and at that point, when you're getting outscaled, staring down 3 Drakes, it's not an easy game to play.
No, keeping an eye on the big picture, even though it might not be going your way in the early phases of the game from Rogue, something we know. They love those fundamentals, and they play them so well, Vedi. Now looking at the next game, we had some standout performers on Rogue as well. The Varus was exceptional from Hans Sama. What are you expecting coming out of the draft in Game 2 with these adaptations? Mad, stay on the blue side.
I think the pressure's on Mad Lions, personally, because right now, this Gnar pick seems to be a really big deal for me that Odoamne just has answers for. And as long as Rogue keep drafting in a way that allows them to have better team fighting, we know that Mad wants to team fight you. Like Bwipo was talking about at the beginning of the day, when Mad get ahead, they like to play through 2 lanes, funnel resources into a single player, and then like they'll try and group and team fight, right? Whereas Rogue, and they get advantages, they like to spread their advantages across the map. But Rogue is adapting and saying, no, let's not bother. Let's actually just constantly draft towards playing Mad style, but just have a better comp at doing it.
I really like the Varus pick in this game. They already had so much power in the draft and team fights. Orianna, Hecarim, Rell, first 3. All they needed was another champion that could make sure that the Orianna would stay safe. Chain of Corruption, a great tool to stop the enemy team from running into your team, and combined with the Gangplank, it was almost impossible for Mad Lions to deathball into the comp, which is really interesting because they gave away the Alistar.
True. Actually, when you think about those decisions, when you see it working out, that changes the whole picture. Rogue played it out perfectly, and they are on a roll here in finals weekend as they started the series with a convincing win. We'll see if the Mad Lions can answer back when we return.